to catch us all up, late Friday,
I got a lot to say.
I think it was about 3:30. The Big Ten suspension. And again, it's an in-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh, so he can still coach during the week. But this will affect Penn State. I can't remember the second to last game they have, and then the Ohio State game. If it holds, Michigan filed an emergency injunction, and we kind of all expected Jim Harbaugh to be on the sidelines today. That was not the case, as there's actually going to be a hearing on this coming up this Friday. So we should know by, I'm assuming, this Friday or at least early next week, whether or not Jim Harbaugh will be on the sidelines for Ohio State-Michigan. But then fast forward to today, Michigan was very much playing up the fact that they're the victims. And okay, can we just say Michigan versus everybody is
ridiculous.
Just a weak ass ripoff.
What the hell are we doing?
Ohio against the world. Like,
what the hell are we doing, Nick?
You know that I think the way the Big Ten has handled this has honestly been laughable, and it seems more like culling the bloodlust of fans and other schools than actually making the right decision. But I digress. So I actually have taken more of a, I think Michigan's got a damn point here stance than anything, and that I'd rather this all be handled in the off season when we can, when we don't have football to talk about. But like Michigan versus everybody, this is like if Ohio versus the world is Pepsi, this isn't even Diet RC Cola. Like this is the Rite Aid not Rite Aid, the Aldi Cola that it just says Cola. It's not even a fucking brand name. It's just like, hey, what's that Ohio thing? Yeah, let's do a dumber, bastardized version of that.
Okay.
To tell everybody how serious we are.
I'm gonna be honest with you here, Nick. I have been very much. I'm just gonna start from the very beginning of this entire scandal.
That's a long time ago, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We got a long. This is gonna be a long episode.
Would like to go to bed.
No. I want to go back to the very beginning of this whole thing, up until even like this week, and I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, yeah, I've been reading everything and seeing all the details, and it's been fun to follow. Like, it has been entertaining as hell to just see how this is all unfolded and what's under this rock and what's under that rock and all these different things. Okay. But I was leaning more into the lane that you're in of like, at the end of the day, it's probably not that big of a deal. Like, everyone's doing it. Like, is it really worth some massive punishment here and all this different stuff, right?
By the way, are we talking about the Michigan sign stealing scandal or pot 20 years ago?
Yeah, we're talking.
Everyone's doing it. Should it really be that big of a penalty, man?
Yeah, I hit all the buzzwords on that one. Yes,
it's only a nickel bag. I don't see what the deal is.
Now legal in Ohio, so hey, It's really not a big deal anymore. So anyway, from the beginning, I have very much been with you that like, this doesn't need to be this massively punished thing. And I think on some level, I thought we were taking a little bit too far with the way that it was being covered and talked about and all this different, and the outrage, right? The public outrage from it. When I saw what I saw at the end of this Penn State game, where Sherrome Moore was standing there at his post-game interview, tears flowing from his eyes, as if Jim Harbaugh had been hit by a car prior to the game and was in like the ICU on his deathbed. And all of a sudden, we feel so terrible. And we went out there and played for Jim today. And no, everyone's counting us out. And it's us against the world and all these different things. Woe is me.
That's my head coach.
Woe is me.
That's my guy.
Let's wipe the crocodile tears out of our eyes. No. One of the most pathetic things I have ever seen in my life. And listen, even if Michigan wanted to turn this into, listen, we think it's wrong that they're suspending Jim Harbaugh. He said he didn't know, and we're using this as motivation. We're going to go kick the ass of Penn State. We're going to go kick Ohio State's ass in 2 weeks. If they wanted to look at it that way, and they wanted to use it as like this motivational thing, I wouldn't blame them for that, because anybody who feels like they're being disrespected or whatever is obviously gonna take that lane or use that as motivation. But Nick, to act like they're the victims in this, like no matter how you feel about Jim Harbaugh getting suspended, the fact still remains. There is evidence, hard evidence against you that you guys flat out were stealing signs illegally. Like you cheated. You flat out cheated, and you're on national television now crying because your head coach got punished for it? Like, you give me a fucking break. What is that? What is that?
I don't hate the bet signs. That was funny. There's actually some funny stuff in this. Like JJ McCarthy did the sign stealing thing as well, which is really funny after big play. But the crying was like, okay, all right, listen. You can feel like you have been jobbed. You can feel like the NCAA, and I think there is some reason to believe that, like, some of this is that people just don't like Jim Harbaugh and that he seems to be a weird a-hole and that he seems to be just a really tough bastard to get along with. But, like, honestly, man, I saw, like, I'm the biggest softie in the world. I've got 3 daughters. I have been.
It looked so disingenuous. It looked so fake and so stupid. It was so pathetic.
You know those TV commercials that are designed to make you cry? They crack me in like half a second now. I'm as I get older, I'm so much more emotionally weak than the man who, like, at 21 cried like 3 times.
You needed a whole box. You probably needed a whole box of tissues for all like, the Tom Rinaldi game day pieces that.
Oh yes, can't do it. Cannot do it. And now College Game Day, like the whole point is just how much can we make Nick Wilson cry?
We make Nick Wilson cry?
Like they're literally like they have some sort of monitor on my stuff, and they're like, oh, let's see, he only cried 3 times last week. We got to get him at least 5 times this next week. Do we have any kids with cancer out there that we could really just shake him up on? Now that being said, when I see another person cry, I can get very emotional, and I laughed. And again, I'm very sympathetic to the way Michigan fans see this whole thing. And Sherrome Moore crying was one of the funniest things. Like, I was giggling nonstop. We were at I almost said Olive Garden. So it was my father-in-law's birthday party today, and we're at Red Lobster in that Stowe area. And there's like a downtime and everybody's kind of talking amongst themselves. And I put on the video and then I just start giggling. I mean, I'm like in the middle of a restaurant, just like cackling because of the, yo, man, you're my guy, man. And it's like, he's not dead. He's not dying. He's just a dude that is clearly being targeted by the Big Ten and forces inside the Big Ten and the NCAA. He'll be okay. Like, here's the thing, guys. He's still going to be a millionaire tomorrow. And even if he doesn't coach these games, they're still probably going to the playoffs. And he's still probably, by the way, even if this costs him his job, he's going back to the NFL, where he's arguably been the more successful coach. Don't cry for me, Argentina. And I just thought it was really funny. Everything else I kind of thought was fair game, like the griping and the bitching and all that. But seriously, with the when he was pointing at the camera, I kept rewinding it because I just got glee. And, like, honestly, Sherrone's going to be a head coach very, very soon. This might be the first thing I ask him when I'm, like, interviewing him to be the new head coach at, like, West Virginia. What was that crying shit about, man? That's a little weird. Don't you think that was a little bit much?
Well, but the funny thing is, Nick, like, he's sitting there crying into the camera and saying, that's my head coach. The guy almost left you. Like, the guy almost went to the NFL last year. Like, he might not even be here right now if he had gotten offered the NFL job that he wanted. Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh, that's my head coach. I'm going to go to bat for him any day. Yeah, well, in 2 months, he might not even be at Michigan anymore. You're still going to go to bat for him for that? Then the whole thing is just so disingenuous. It's so ridiculous. And I'm going to be honest, that whole bit or whatever the hell they were trying to do on national TV, I've turned. I'm in the other lane now.
So
I am completely in the other lane. They cheated, punished Jim Harbaugh. I hope the suspension is upheld. This is absolutely ridiculous because if they're at the very least, like, they just take ownership of something. Take ownership of something.
I know what this is.
To act like they're the victim in this is absolutely ridiculous.
I know
Absolutely ridiculous.
You've been getting crap by Ohio State fans for about 3 weeks now.
That's not it.
And it's the flip-flop. You're doing the Ken Carmen flip-flop now.
You can tell me I'm flip-flopping, and that's fair. I am very much flip-flopping. I will own that I'm flip-flopping. But I can promise you it was not from outside pressure from Ohio State fans, because I'm an independent. I'm a grown-ass man, and I can stand by my takes. I have no issue with that.
I'm just so proud of you for flip-flopping. And just like, man, you're like my man, and you're like my co-host on this, and I just really appreciate it, man. And it's just good to be your co-host. And oh, sorry, I blacked out. All right, guys, we got one more segment to go. We will take any reaction. Did you think the interim or acting head coach of Michigan, do you think those were real tears? Or did maybe he spritz something in his eye